Second graders, today we are going to read the story Jack and the Beanstalk. And the story is a favorite. It's one of those fun fairy tales, and I love reading this one out loud. I want you to think about all of those fairy tale characteristics that we talked about just a little bit ago, but then also just listen for the story elements, the character and the setting, what's the problem and what's the solution. Now remember, there's different versions of lots of fairy tales. So this version might be a little bit different than the one that you've heard before. So be listening so that you hear what those differences might be. And I'm going to present this to us all on the computer so that I can do a read aloud for you. So here we go. Should be coming up in just a second. And there we have Jack and the Beanstalk. And this is retold by Brenda Parks and Judith Smith. And the illustrations are by Diana Magnuson. Jack and the Beanstalk. It gives us something to think about over here. What is at the top of the beanstalk? Now, if you've already read the story, you know what's at the top, but we're going to read. Long ago, there lived a poor widow and her son Jack. All they owned was a cow. Every day, they sold some of the cow's milk. Then one morning, the cow stopped giving milk. Jack's mother said to him, "Take the cow to market, sell her, and bring me the money." On the way to the market, Jack met an old woman. "Do you want to sell your cow?" she asked him. "Yes," said Jack. Then the old woman said to Jack, "Give me your cow and I'll give you these beans." "I don't want beans," said Jack. "But these beans are magic," said the old woman. So Jack took the beans and he gave the cow to the old woman. When Jack got home, his mother said, "Where's the money?" "Oh, I haven't got any money," replied Jack. "I've got magic beans." "Magic beans," said his mother. "No money, no cow, only beans." And she threw the beans away. His mother was very, very angry, and Jack was very, very sad. He went to bed. When Jack woke up the next morning, the room was dark. Through the window, he could see a huge stalk and huge leaves. Up, 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 up stretched a beanstalk as far as he could see. Jack climbed out of the window and he climbed up the stalk. He climbed and he climbed. He could see his house far below. Up he climbed through the clouds. Then he reached a road. He could see a beautiful castle. It towered up into the sky. Jack felt very scared, but he thought to himself, "I'm going to find out who lives here." He walked right up to the castle and he knocked on the castle door. The door swung open. The old woman stood there staring at Jack. "What are you doing here?" she said. "A wicked ogre lives in this castle, and he doesn't like little boys." "But I'm hungry," said Jack. So the old woman took Jack into the kitchen. "Sit down," she said, "and I'll give you something to eat." But suddenly the floor began to shake. Bang, bang, bang. "It's the ogre," cried the old woman. "Quick, get into the oven." Jack got into the oven just in time. The door flew open, and in strode a gigantic ogre. The ogre shouted, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. If he's alive or if he's dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." "There's no one here except me," said the old woman. So the ogre sat down at the table, and the woman gave him some food. Jack lay very, very still in the oven. He was very, very frightened. When the ogre had eaten his food, he took out a big bag of gold. "Look," he said to the old woman, "I got lots." I should use the correct voice here. "Look," he said to the old woman, "I got lots of gold for that boy's cow." The ogre sat and counted the gold, and then at last he went to sleep. Jack looked at the ogre, and he looked at the gold. "Well, that's my gold," he thought. "The ogre sold my cow." So Jack crept out of the oven and he grabbed the bag of gold. Jack ran to the castle door. He pushed the door, but it wouldn't open. He pushed again. Then suddenly the door opened with a loud screech. Jack ran out of the door and down the road. Behind him he could hear, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. If he's alive or if he's dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." It was the ogre. Jack ran faster and faster. Behind him he could hear, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. If he's alive or if he's dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." Well, the ogre was chasing him. Poor Jack! Clutching the bag of gold, Jack climbed back onto the beanstalk. He started to climb down, down through the clouds. Down, down, down. Behind him he could hear, "Fee, fi, fo, fum, I smell the blood of an Englishman. If he's alive or if he's dead, I'll grind his bones to make my bread." The stalk swayed and the leaves shook, and Jack climbed even faster. Then Jack looked down and he saw his mother. "Get the axe!" he yelled. As Jack reached the ground, his mother chopped through the beanstalk, and that was the end of the ogre. Jack and his mother were safe, and they lived happily ever after. And that's where our story ends. And you may want to pause this video and talk about the sequence of events that are in the story. But that was a fun one to read. It's a great one to read out loud, and I hope you enjoyed it. But we will now spend some time talking about the story elements and the events that happened in the story. Let me go back to our meat.